Hello everyone and welcome to the Fintech Times. My name's Tyler and today I'm here at PAY360 in London. We're having a great day and now I'm joined by Jason. Jason, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Hi, my name is Jason Maude and I am the Chief Technology Advocate at Starling Bank. I go around and talk about the technology and the technology philosophy behind Starling Bank and how that has made it Britain's best bank for quite a number of years running.
Well, that's really good to hear. I was really fortunate to speak to Sarah from Fintech Wales the other week.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
We had a great conversation about the ecosystem in Wales and how that's all coming up. So now I've got another Starling Bank. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much.
So today, of course, it's everything about PayTech. You know, the modern transaction.
Yeah.
What does it look like?
Absolutely.
You know, we've got a lot of big businesses here, all saying lots of different things. So I would like to get your take. What payment models are you excited to see this year?
So the thing that I'm really excited about in terms of like the modeling of payments from a consumer perspective and how they see the payment working is treating a payment very much like a parcel or something that's delivered. Nowadays, when you have a parcel being delivered, you can track that parcel delivery all the way through from its very starting point all the way through to the end. And payments are going in that direction as well, I think. You know, a lot of payments happen fairly instantaneously these days, so the need to track them through is not big, but there are still some payments that will take a while to percolate through the system. You know, even your, something as simple as your payment on the London Underground, for example, does not occur instantly. It takes a little while to filter through and that sort of thing. And being able to keep an eye on where a payment is in the flow and confirm that it has got to the destination that you think it needs to get to, if you are the payee or the payer rather, but, you know, then that's great. And seeing that it's, the payment is coming to you when it's going to arrive in your bank account and so on, that's also great. So giving people more data about where their payments are in the system and giving them that tracking ability is, I think, very good. Obviously, it's going to look different from how a parcel looks, but, you know, that same sort of principle applies.
Well, unfortunately, I'm all too familiar with pending transactions, so I get completely what you mean.
Yeah.
I think the use of data in transactions has become so important. You know, I mean, it was already important before the pandemic. You know, and now it seems to be like a make or break deal, like good data. So it's really, really important. You know, when we look at who is in the PayTech space, and then we consider the data on top of that, we sometimes see, oh well, you know, challenger banks or maybe new startups, they won't have as much data or as comprehensive data of their own than maybe somebody like a traditional bank, for example, you know. And I'm just curious because when we look at modern payments, we often think, oh, you know, that startup or maybe like a challenger bank or something. But how can the traditional banks compete in the digital race?
Sure, they have to become much more connected with the way that software should be developed, much more connected with how digital, everything digital software as the underlying basis of it works. And a lot of that is about constant transformation, constantly changing and updating, constantly iterating over your code to make it better and better and improve things and that sort of thing. Not treating software in this sort of very project management waterfall style where, you know, we do the software, then we deliver the software, then we never touch the software again for 3 years, and then we have to redo all the software all over again. You know, that is a very big thing. You say big banks have the data, and you're right in a certain sense, but the problem is that data landscape is often very fragmented. They often have a data landscape that was built up over years of mergers and acquisitions. So, you know, they went out and bought a company, they got that company's database. Great, but now they have another database, and another database, another database. They have dozens of databases, none of which are really connected, some of which have the same customer on 2 or 3 times in different places with different data. You know, and that is not what anyone wants to see. It's not what the regulator wants to see. It's not what the customer wants to see, and it's definitely not what the banks want to see. You know, they want much more of a unified system. In order to do that, they need to get much better at iterating over things and, you know, moving things into changing things as they go in situ.
Well, you heard it here first. Big banks, sort out your data. I definitely agree, because it's like you'll have things overlapping, it won't be as accurate, you know, and then well, how do you apply fragmented data? That's a whole another question.
Indeed. How do you comply with things like GDPR, for example? You know?
Well, exactly, yes, and I think, I think that's a very good point that you've raised, and it goes to show the importance of the data in the digital competition, for want of a better word.
Absolutely.
You know, so yeah, I think yeah, hopefully they'll heed your advice and do much better. So, you know, when we think about PAY360, you know, the first word that comes to my mind is Fintech. Not because I work for the Fintech Times, but you know, I think they're so closely merged together.
Yeah.
So, I think my next question for you is, where do you see PAY360 being used outside of FinTech? What's your thoughts on that?
So at the moment, FinTech is very, a lot of it is concerned with the sort of the underlying structure, you know, things like making, you know, how to make a payment, how to issue a card, you know, moving up into things like banking and so on. And I think it will transition out of that, you know, small space, a lot of which is hidden in some ways from the customer view, out to much larger, wider, directly customer-facing things, such as things, you know, it's already transitioned to things like consumer payments and so on, but out further than that into bigger things, such as mortgages, insurance, pensions, and so on. We already see a little bit of activity in these spaces, but much more and more in those spaces. And I think that where you're going to see things going is much more towards embedded finance, so where finance is directly in the buying experience of a good or a service, so that you don't have to separately negotiate with your bank or other finance provider and the thing that you're trying to buy, that these two things are combined much more than they already are. Now, there is some degree of combination. You know, if you get a car, for example, the car manufacturers will often have finance arms that can provide you with financing options. But this will become more and more of the norm. So, you know, my dream here is what I call the house shop, which is a place where you can go in, buy your house, which combines the estate agent, the mortgage provision, the you know, all of the conveyancing and, you know, and that sort of thing, the exchange. All of that is in one place, rather than you having to go between, you know, here to here to here to here to try and sort out thing as your own project that you're managing. And this idea of embedding the finance in there will require well-maintained APIs. It will require good data transfer. It will require customers having the ability to control what data gets moved where, when, and so on and so on.
Well, they say that the best transactions are the most invisible transactions, you know, and I do agree with you. I think embedded finance would be the way forward to incorporate it into other spaces. I mean, I see, personally from my view, you know, whenever I'm shopping anywhere else that's sort of not really related to fintech, it requires you to go back to your bank and sort of confirm it in the app if it's a challenger bank, for example.
Yeah.
So yeah, it will be a very exciting place for PAY360 in the wider regions to come.
Absolutely.
And hopefully, when we're at this event next time, we can discuss where it's gone.
Yes.
So.
Hopefully so, yeah.
Yes. Well, Jason, it was great to speak to you today.
Fantastic.
I hope you enjoy the rest of the event.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.